We were expecting, given all of the analysts' expectations, that this will kick off another cycle of sales growth for Apple. Is that still how you feel, given the way that we saw the market reacted overnight?
It's actually a tale of two cities. On one hand, 5G is going to be the biggest upgrade cycle that we will see for years. But on the second hand, we expect to see that consumers are going to be buying lower priced phones.
So in that respect, we also saw optimism associated with the lower pricing of the Mini, right? But do you think that's actually going to turn out to be an overall negative?
I think what will happen is we're shifting the mix within smartphones right now to lower priced smartphones. So it is harder to outperform in top line revenue, but unit sales should be tremendous. The iPhone launch was highly anticipated in 5G. And in fact, we believe that many consumers were waiting for purchases for iPhone to come out in 5G. So this is a good move for Apple. It should create a good quarter for them.
It was highly anticipated because it was also sort of late to the game, right? There were concerns that perhaps 5G networks were still in their infancy. Did you see any of those concerns addressed? And what is the expectation here, especially in the U.S., where it seems the networks may not be as advanced as, say, in other parts of the world like China?
I believe Apple felt that they could hold off on 5G because 5G wasn't ready, and they didn't actually want a brand impact by selling a phone where they thought the networks weren't going to perform at peak phase. Will we have ubiquitous 5G networks going forward? No. Does it really matter, though? No, because right now, if you're buying a smartphone, you want a smartphone that you'll be able to use in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So I think that this is a great move for Apple to have a 5G phone, regardless of whether or not the networks are 100% available.
Yeah, I'm going about 4 years on my phone already. So I wonder, what were some of the changes that you saw on the iPhone this time around? Was there anything that was impactful? There was a lot of talk about the cameras.
Well, the things that really drive smartphone sales are, in fact, cameras and gaming. And Apple spent a great deal of time talking about how their new chip architecture and software actually benefited both of those. And I think that that was exactly the way to go between the speed and the chip technology they have in it and the artificial intelligence. They've really done a lot of advancements that are in things that consumers really care about.
So given the fairly robust consumer recovery we're starting to see take hold in China, how much reliance is there on the take-up of the new iPhones in that market? Because we saw actually overnight, interestingly, that Tencent, Weibo, all of these big platforms actually didn't stream the product launch event, which is really the first time they've done this in many years. It's usually such a big deal there.
Yeah, one of the things that we expected was that the Asian market in general would be a huge market for Apple, but they were typically considered overpriced for what they were offering. And now they've got a solid offering and they've got a range of price points. So we think they can show much better in the Asian landscape than they have in the past.
We also see the incentives being offered by carriers, right? To what extent is that kind of almost masking the true price of these handsets?
Well, when we were looking at the Verizon price points in all of the $15 a month range, I mean, this gets a 5G phone into a super affordable category with a high quality network. And I think that that does mask the price, but that is not atypical in the US market. What I think happened for several years is carriers have been shying away from that. And now with the investment that they're placing in these 5G networks, they really need to get people on these networks and they need a reason for customers to move into a new network and switch carriers. So they're all trying very hard to find good incentives and programs to make sure that they get the lion's share of the new net subscriber adds going forward.
Did the HomePod smart speaker make up for that very expensive original one?
Well, I think the HomePod has always been struggling a bit to find a home, so to speak. It is a product that could be very successful in the Apple portfolio, but really Amazon and Alexa just took it away, and they had a wide range of speakers, and they were doing a perceived better job in terms of delivering the right content. So I think the positioning that you're seeing Apple do now is say, hey, we've got a lower price device, we've got great Siri integration to do the things you need to do and turn it into more of a home control then I want to ask for some specific stat on the internet. So really trying to recast the expectation of why you would need this, how you would use it, and how it was really much more about audio and managing your life than it was about statistics or other things such as what Alexa was doing in the past.
And finally, Maribel, should Apple be concerned about antitrust issues going forward? Because whoever wins the election, it seems that there is bipartisan support in Washington right now to somehow regulate these giants.
I think we've seen a lot of talk and posturing. I think it's extremely difficult to unwind where these vendors are at this point in time. I do believe that there's a serious feeling that there's an antitrust issue, and one of the things that they might start looking at is mergers and acquisitions activity. I think that would actually be poor for the tech industry in general, because if that happens, then VCs might not invest in small startups and innovation might stall a little. Venture capitalists want to invest in companies that large techs are going to buy because they buy them at high price tags, and that is what they need.